Consider this. A grandmother buys a piano in hopes of starting a new hobby. Her granddaughter thinks that piano is the best toy she's ever had the pleasure of playing with. Fast forward just a few years and that young girl is now an accomplished pianist. She has traveled the world over showing off her piano skills. She's played Carnegie Hall 3 times, won many awards, appeared on national television, and is even a chess champion to boot. And get this, she's only 10 years old. I'm Yvonne Greer. My guests are Veda Kaplinsky, the teacher who teaches this young pianist how to master her craft, and the young lady herself, Harmony Zhu, next on Consider This. I remember as a young girl growing up in Detroit that my grandmother had a piano. I too loved to play that piano. But fast forward for me 40 years later, and I'm still playing Jingle Bells with one finger. Harmony Zhu, welcome to Consider This. Veda Kaplinsky, welcome. How did you learn to play so well?
I just kept on playing, I guess. And I have a really good teacher, so I just keep on playing it.
So how did it start for you, though? For me, I could hear songs and I would try to mimic the songs on the piano. Did it start that way for you, or were you thinking of music on your own in your head?
I tried to mimic some sounds and stuff too. Like if I heard like an elevator or a cell phone ringtone or something, I would try to play it out on the piano. And yeah, I like to imitate songs on the piano and play the correct notes, and I always played it right.
Wow, that's amazing. And so when did you start reading music to play?
A long time ago. I don't know exactly when.
And did you find that was easier for you and sort of opened the doorway for you to play more?
I can't really remember, but I think it just didn't really open anything. I like to improvise too, so.
Awesome. Well, Veda, let me ask you, what is that process like for a young student who realizes that they have this gift and they can mimic the sounds on the piano, to go from that to actually reading music and playing from the written music?
Well, most kids who have that kind of aptitude are curious and they want to see what kind of music is out there. And they know that the only way they can do that is by learning how to read and how to follow the directions in the score. The students who do have this built-in musical integrity do very well in that kind of transition.
Now, Harmony, I've watched you play, and there is a seriousness that comes over you when you sit down in front of the piano and you start to rock in your body and your head shakes a little bit and your shoulders move and you lean in and you have this wonderful flair in your arms. But I've also seen you away from the piano and you are literally skipping and singing and dancing in the hallway. What is it like for you to go from just being 10-year-old you to being a concert pianist? What does that feel like when you sit down in front of the keyboard?
I still feel like I'm being me. I don't feel like I changed to be like another character or anything. I mean, I just like to skip around, and then when I play, I like to make the best out of the piece.
That sounds lovely. What do you feel when you play?
That depends on the piece it is. So if it was a really lyrical piece, I would feel really calm playing it. And if it was a faster piece, I get more energized.
And what do you like to do away from the piano?
Oh, I have lots of hobbies. I also do composition, and I love chess.
And compositions where you write your own music?
Yeah, composing music. And I also love to read books and draw. I love to doodle everywhere. And I also like writing and dancing and singing.
Awesome.
I like lots of sports. My favorites are, I like badminton, ping pong, and swimming. Those are my favorites. And I also love history, and I like to go bird watching.
And you're 10?
That's pretty terrific. She goes to school.
So when a child comes to you that's so full of life and so full of joy and so full of interest and energy, how do you harness that when it comes time to sit down at the piano and master her craft?
Well, in Harmony's case, there's no need to harness. She just, as soon as she sits at the piano, she's all focus and attention, and she does everything, and she gets everything very quickly. In fact, sometimes I feel like I have to explain things to her, and she interrupts me. She says, "I got it."
How did you two come to meet?
Well, Harmony came to audition at the Juilliard pre-college division when she was 8, and I was on the panel of faculty that listened to the auditions, and that was the first time I heard her.
And what was your expectation when she sat down?
My expectation was of a stage mother who thinks her daughter is probably better than she really is. That's what usually happens when we see these toddlers walk up to the piano. But as soon as she played the first note, we just were stopped in our tracks and jaws dropped, and we said, wow, this is the real thing.
So walk me through the process. I mean, how do you know the difference between, let's say, a young child who is talented and a child who is, let's say, gifted, for lack of a better descriptive term?
Well, it's a combination of many factors. You know immediately that the child is musical after you hear one phrase, but there are a lot of musical children, and that's only the bottom layer. There was an emotional intensity and a communicativeness in her playing that is rare in adults, let alone children. And when you see that, this is the kind of thing you can't teach. You can teach technique, you can teach style, you can teach many, many things, but you can't teach emotion. It's either there or it's not, and she certainly has it.
And so when you're feeling all of those emotions and you're playing, do you have a thought as you're composing your music? I'm going to make this one light and airy. I'm going to make this one more serious and lyrical. How do you compose?
Well, I improvise a lot. Like when I'm practicing, sometimes an idea comes and I just improvise it. And then later on when I'm composing, I sometimes put the improvisations into my composition, or like I tweak it a little. That's how I compose mostly.
Awesome. You have such a bright smile. And as I listened to you play, the audience around me, everyone kept saying, "She's so cute. She's so cute." Do you feel cute? No.
Everybody tells me that.
Well, it's quite the compliment. You are such a joy. It is really a pleasure to be with you. Tell me about having to play the piano when you're so little. Is there a special instruction or something special that has to happen? Because the hands are small and the arms aren't as long as an adult's hands, but the piano size is standard. Is there a special technique or a special learning process that you had to do?
I don't think so.
You don't think so? Yeah, there is, of course, because as soon as the ability exceeds the reach of the hand, then it becomes a problem because they start stretching, they start doing things that could be eventually harmful to them. So you try to, first of all, adjust the repertoire to their abilities. When she came in, she could barely reach an octave, which was really the basis of all piano repertoire, especially the complex repertoire. So until she was able to do that, it was very difficult to challenge her with pieces that would catch her attention, but won't extend her hand. She's getting better now, and she can reach octaves more easily, but you constantly have to train them to do it the right way so that they don't just go for it and create bad habits that come back to haunt them later.
How do you choose the pieces that you'll use for competition?
Well, the only competitions that Harmony entered since she's been at Juilliard have been concerto competitions. She entered the concerto competitions in school are preset with repertoire. So she had to play a particular Mozart concerto, and that's what she did, and she won that. The next thing that happened is she came to me and she said she wanted to enter the Philadelphia Orchestra Youth auditions with the Chopin E minor, which most seasoned concert pianists consider a very, very difficult piece. And, I tried not to hide my real reaction, which was forget that. But then she begged, and she says, "Can you please hear me do it once?" And then I finally heard her, and it was impossible for me to say no. And she continued to play it, and she brought it up to a very high level in a very short time, and she won that competition as well.
Actually, I
Outstanding.
also went to a non-concerto competition after I went to Juilliard.
Which one was that?
It was one in Connecticut, like the Chopin.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah. Well, I try not to encourage too many competitions because I feel that they lose sight of what this is all about. It becomes a sports meet, and this is not what we try to promote at Juilliard. We try to promote a certain musical integrity and a love for the music itself. And competitions in sports are very easily quantifiable. Competitions in music are not, and therefore they're potentially very hurtful to the people who try, who can play extremely well and still not win anything. So we try to instill in them the love for music and the love for the achievement of being able to play something completely removed from the prize element.
Understood.
And once they're ready, then we let them do it because it does give them opportunities to play.
Do you like a challenge, Harmony?
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot.
Is that how you came to play chess?
Well, I learned chess when I was 4. There are some chess clubs, so I just played there first.
And what is it that you like so much about chess?
It's really fun to play it. I mean, when I first started, the pieces looked like little dolls, so they were really interesting to me. And then it was like I could play and everything, and like there were lots of variations. So it just came as a challenge to me, and I love challenges.
Wonderful. And do you feel like you have the same sort of feeling when you play chess as when you play the piano, or let's say when you're doing your schoolwork? Is that all sort of the same feeling? Does it put you in that same frame of mind and energy, or is it all very different depending on which thing you're doing?
It's different.
It's different?
Yeah. Because like a chess game usually lasts for like 5 or 6 hours. So, I mean, you have to stay energized for a really long time. And schoolwork, it's faster. And then piano, it's done at 5 or 6 hours.
Now, you're in 3rd grade. What are your best subjects at school?
I mean, 4th.
4th, sorry.
Best subjects? You mean my favorite ones?
Yes.
I like math a lot, and I also love art class. I love drawing, as I told you. And I love all the subjects, so it's hard to pick out the favorites, but
So how does one go from being in 4th grade to also being a part of Juilliard? Can you explain that process, what the prep college school is like?
Yeah, well, all our students go to a regular school during the week, and they come to Juilliard on Saturdays only.
Okay.
And Saturday's music day, from early morning until evening. They go through classes, they go through lessons, they go through chamber music. The orchestral instruments have an orchestra. We have actually 3 orchestras in the school. It's a great thing for these kids because it's the one day of the week where they're with people who feel the same way they do. In school, sometimes they're oddballs because they're doing something that most of the kids don't consider cool.
And aren't able to do.
And they don't understand it. They don't understand the value of it. They don't understand the difficulty involved in doing it. So when they come to school on Saturday at Juilliard, everybody there knows. Everybody understands. Everybody loves the same thing they do. So they feel very much at home, and they feel like they're in a community that supports them and gives them moral and intellectual
Emotional support, yeah.
not just support, but validity.
Very nice. So how do you feel at your regular school? Do kids ask you about your ability to play the piano so well?
yeah, sometimes they ask. I have lots of friends in school. Sometimes they ask, and they're like really proud of me when I win competitions and stuff.
That's great. And do you guys all get together and like play games or have sleepovers, any of that stuff? How much piano practice is required before you go to Juilliard on Saturdays? How much time every day? Do you practice every day?
Yeah, a couple of hours, but it depends. If I have schoolwork or projects, then I practice less, and if I have competitions or concerts coming up, then I practice more.
Now, sometimes we hear of kids who play an instrument and their parents always telling them, you have to go practice the piano or you have to go practice your violin. Does anyone ever have to ask you to practice, or are you always ready to go?
I usually go practice by myself. Nobody really tells me to go practice.
And when it's just you alone with the piano and you don't have to practice and you're just sitting fiddling around, what kind of music do you play?
You mean when I improvise?
Either improvising, or is there a piece that you're drawn to, or a particular composer that you're drawn to? Just if nobody's telling you what to play, what do you choose to play?
I usually just improvise anything.
And do you listen to popular music, the stuff that's on the radio today?
I listen to that rarely sometimes.
Rarely? Okay. And do you encourage that they don't listen to so much of that contemporary stuff because they've got to keep their eye on the classical stuff for performances?
We don't tell them what not to do. We tell them what to do. If they want to be in school at Juilliard, they have to have a minimum amount of time that they spend on that type of music. And if in their spare time they want to listen to other things, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with listening to pop music or jazz or anything else. It's all music. It's just a different slant and a different direction. At Juilliard, we promote classical music only because that is incredibly challenging and very all-consuming, so there's no room at the school to do anything else. But if they want to do it on their own, that's fine.
And do you find that's very common to have young gifted musicians also be gifted in mathematics? We hear that quite a bit.
Yes.
What is that connection?
Well, there are studies now about the connection between math and music, and apparently it's similar areas of the brain that are developed, and one actually helps develop the other. But most of the students who do really well at Juilliard are very smart in other areas. They're just smart kids. And our graduates, if they don't go to Juilliard or to other conservatories, end up mostly in Ivy League schools or major colleges across the country. It's the list of colleges that our graduates go to, the ones that don't go to Juilliard, is really impressive.
So when we speak of these young gifted musicians and their abilities away from their chosen instrument, I guess my question is, does the intellect and the skill part come first, or does that emotional drive and feeling come first? Because like you said earlier, you can't really teach the feeling part of it, the ability to emote. So how do those two get connected?
Well, it gets connected through studying, because the initial attraction that children feel towards music is purely emotional. And then as they develop, they're fascinated by the fact that there's so much more to it than just the initial drawing element. And so they develop all of that. And as they develop, one thing helps the other. I mean, we try to encourage a very holistic approach to these kids. We don't want them to be only classical music trained. We like the fact that they do well in school. We like the fact that they have other interests, because it all feeds the musical elements. If you want to grow up as an artist, you really have to experience life in many, many elements and facets. You have to be able to read literature. You have to be able to recognize the beauty of visual arts. You have to appreciate all these elements in life, because they all end up creating a person who has the artistic capabilities.
You remember the first time you played with a symphony?
Pardon?
You remember the first time you played with a symphony, like lots of other instruments around you?
Yeah.
What was that like?
It was new for me. It was really fascinating. Like, I enjoyed that performance a lot. It was really fun.
When you play, can you hear the other instruments in your head around you?
Sometimes. You mean like when I play by myself?
When you play
like
by yourself,
concerto?
right.
Yeah, sometimes I can.
That was to me, I played the flute growing up, and I even hesitate to bring up my own stories because they pale so much in comparison to your great talents. But it was fascinating to me that once you play with other instruments, that you can sometimes hear them when you're practicing. I don't know if that's just me.
That's all connected. It's all the same brain. Yeah.
So what's on the what's in the future for you? What would you like to do with your talents and all of these wonderful things you can do? What do you want to be when you grow up?
I would like to be like an artist, like a pianist probably, and I like to like help lots of people and probably like play music for like the sick people or something and make them happier. I like to make people happier.
That's nice. How do you think you got to be so great? Do you think you're gifted? Do you think you just practice really hard? Because Mom and Dad said they don't play.
Yeah, they don't play at all. None of my family has like played piano or chess or anything. I don't know. I guess I just practice and
It was already in there and you brought it out.
probably, I don't know.
So what are the possibilities for career choices as a gifted musician grows up and has been through the Juilliard experience?
Well, I'm sure that Harmony is going to go through all kinds of stages in her development where she's drawn to one thing or another. The main choices that people have is performing and teaching, but performing can have very many different aspects to it, and so does teaching. Sometimes they combine the two, sometimes they go into administration, and sometimes they simply are very entrepreneurial and they build projects through which they can both teach and play. We try to encourage that in Juilliard as well, the entrepreneurial element of being a musician, because there is very little support from the outside, and these kids need to build their niche from inside, and they need to expand their community and their contacts and their network so that they have opportunities. Someone of Harmony's talent, if there's any justice in the world, is going to have plenty of opportunities because she's really unique and very, very unusual. It remains to be seen how she grows and what she's like, but based on my own experience of over 40 years of teaching, she's very, very unusual, and I'll be very surprised if she's not extremely successful in whatever she wants to do with music.
And you are already extremely successful. I am so excited to see all of the things that are coming up in your future. Do you like traveling and playing the piano? Do you like seeing different cities and places?
I love traveling so much.
She loves long lines at airports, waiting for delayed flights. She loved it. She was having a ball as we were doing that a couple of days ago.
I loved it so much, and all the other adults were complaining how long the line was, and I was just so happy about it because I love going to the airport and everything.
What do you love about it?
I don't know. It's just, I don't know. It's fun for me.
Is it kind of the excitement of knowing you're going someplace else?
I guess.
It's not routine.
Do you like traveling on airplanes?
Yeah.
Does it make you nervous at all?
No.
No.
No, I love traveling on airplanes. I remember I went to UAE one time. That was for the WICC World Youth Chess Championships where I won. And like in UAE, I got to do so many things. I got to ride camels, and I went to Burj Khalifa, which is the tallest building of the world. I think it was 124 floors or something. And then I also went to touch starfish and ride with dolphins and everything. So that was really
Awesome. Camels and dolphins and tallest building.
Oh, there are no camels in Peoria.
Well, and I should remind folks that you are in town today because of an appearance for the Peoria Symphony Orchestra, and you're going to be back in the near future to perform with them. We are so excited to have you. I know everybody that watched the performance that I was able to see with you recently was just overwhelmed by how talented you are and how gracious you are. So you are to be commended. Your teacher is to be commended. Your parents are to be commended because you are just fantastic.
Thank you very much.
The parents do need to be commended because if you see a talented kid who's doing well, you can be sure that there's at least one parent behind that kid. It's an incredible sacrifice for parents to do what these two parents are doing and other parents of children like her. It's a total commitment to the child, and some of them do it successfully. They have this balance between preserving the mental health of the child and the slight nudging to make sure that they do the right things. And Harmony is very lucky to have very supportive and very understanding parents.
We are very excited to see just how far you go in this world. We are very excited to be with you. Thank you, Harmony Zhu. Thank you, Veda Kaplinsky, for being with us here on Consider This. And we thank you. Do watch for Harmony and the Peoria Symphony Orchestra's performance. My thanks to Harmony Zhu and her teacher, Veda Kaplinsky, and of course, my thanks to you for being with us here on Consider This. I'm Yvonne Greer. We'll see you next time.